Hey everybody, this video is going to be a little bit different today. A viewer actually sent in a video clip of some of the techniques that they train at their gym to me, asking me to review them and give my opinion on them. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at the techniques, seeing if I like them, and some alternative thoughts that I think we should be training instead, if that's the case. If you're new to this channel and this is the first time that we're meeting, my name is Matt. I am a black shirt in Krav Maga, brown belt in Judo and Karate. I've competed competitively in amateur Muay Thai, and I currently train in combatives, and I am absolutely obsessed with eliminating and decimating any kind of false senses of security that people may have as a result of training fake martial arts, or as some people like to call it, bullshido. So if you like seeing content on that kind of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that I see you again in the future and you can see more of my videos. Getting onto it, we're going to jump straight into the video.
These techniques have been simplified to emphasize a more peaceful resolution to a conflict, since if done incorrectly, the full techniques can cause harm to a training partner. Normally, these techniques will have one or two much more violent responses added to them to make sure the conflict is ended quickly. Instead, I do not speak for the whole of the Danzan Ryu community, and that some of these techniques in various schools will be different.
First technique we'll be showing you is called Katachi Position Ichi, or just wrist grip release number 1. Push down a little bit, that'll torque our wrist, and so the narrow part of our wrist will be going against his thumb right here. What we're going to do, this can be done slowly, quickly, either way. You see that because of the torque that's coming from me just pushing into this area right here, it's very hard for him to have any grip with just these fingers, especially if there's a gap here already. This is also very useful if, come over here a bit, if he is pulling me and he's actually trying to really control me. So do a couple jerks like you're about.
All right, so my thoughts on this one are that yes, it works. It's definitely something that you can pull off. However, I think we need to think about more than just whether or not a technique works when we think about whether or not we want to dedicate a lot of time to training it, specifically when it comes to wrist grab defenses. I have a feeling this is going to turn into a big rant about why I dislike training wrist grab defenses for the most part, and forgive me if that happens, but it's something that was inevitable. So I actually completely dislike, and I would even say hate, training wrist grab defenses, and the reason is as follows. If someone is genuinely trying to cause harm to you, and in that process they grab your wrist, the thing that is threatening you is not the wrist grab. The thing that is threatening you is the person who is intending to do harm to you, the person who is actually grabbing your wrist. Instead of attacking the wrist grab, we should be attacking the person. When you just focus on attacking the wrist grab against someone who's actually trying to hurt you, what ends up happening is, yes, they let go of your wrist, but then they're now much more aggressive and they're now much more angry because you've shown intent to resist against them, and they end up grabbing you again, but now they're trying to do more damage than they were the first time. Whereas if you attack the person who's grabbing your wrist, they end up letting go, and you have that initiative advantage of already being on the offense. In short, this wrist grab escape works, but I think it's the wrong tactical decision if someone's grabbing your wrist with the intent to cause harm to you. That being said, of course, I do think there's one specific instance where this is a good thing to be training, and that is if you're a woman in a club or some kind of public space and someone grabs your wrist, you walk by, they think you're attractive, they grab your wrist, and they kind of, a little, you know, it's not like an aggressive trying to cause harm to you, but it's just like, hey, come here. In that situation, yeah, you can just go boop, and then kind of walk off. But for the most part, these wrist grab escapes are trained in a way it's like if someone is trying to cause harm to you, get out of that and get away. But by the time you get out of that wrist grab and go to turn away, you've been grabbed again. So you need to deal with the person who's doing the grabbing, not deal with the grab itself. So to summarize, I think this is a good technique and it works, but I don't think it's the right course of action.
Punch me or something like that. I do the same exact motion, and it's just like when you play tug of war and you let go of the rope. You just go with it, turn in, and you'll pop out. Best part about that is, if we'll turn around. As I do that, and I've come in, he tries to punch me, it's a lot harder. Even if he does go straight for me, he's able to turn into me, it's a lot easier for me to get in here and be able to do a throw or a choke or transition into something else. But if you're not the fighting type and you just want to escape and do it peacefully, you just have to do the same thing and push away, create some space, and that's the basic technique.
So I like the general idea with that one. Definitely, I've used that kind of analogy of the tug of war with the rope thing previously. Use the momentum that they're giving you to launch yourself into them. Only what I like to do is I like to just take my hand and smash straight into their face, or take my elbow and smash straight into their face on the way in. I don't believe that a wrist escape would work under realistic pressure in this circumstance. In fact, I did try to do something similar to this in a video here that you can probably see on your screen now, and as you can see, it really didn't go too well. When you introduce that realistic energy, that wrist escape stuff really kind of goes out the window for the most part. Once it goes past the phase of that kind of situation I was talking before with the girl in the club or the girl in a public place where it's kind of like very, very timid wrist grab, when it's actually an aggressive one and they're pulling you and yanking you and trying to hurt you, you need to be attacking that person. Forget about the wrist grab. Smash their skull in with everything you have. And there was something interesting noted there as well. He made a comment talking about if you're a peaceful person and you don't want to cause harm, you have to do it this way. This brings me to kind of another mini rant, right? When it comes to defending yourself, you don't really get a say in whether or not you get to be peaceful about it. In order to defeat someone who's trying to hurt you when they are bigger and stronger than you, then you have to have intent to harm them. And if you don't have intent to harm them, you're simply increasing your chance of being harmed yourself, and you don't have a good chance of getting out of that situation. You have to be willing to hurt people. There is no Miyagi-Do way of peacefully getting around a vicious attack. The only way to beat a bad person who's trying to be violent to you is to be a good person who is better at using violence. You have to be willing to use violence. And I don't like the assertion that you can get out of this in a peaceful way, because you need to be hurting them. And any illusion that you can get out of this without trying to hurt somebody is the kind of stuff that I used to fall into when I trained more traditional karate. You can get out of it by doing this nice, smooth, peaceful movement, and then I tried it and I got the crap kicked out of me, right? So we need to make sure there's no illusion in our mind that we can do these things in a super peaceful way, because if we want to get out, we need to be willing to actually hurt the person.
So we're going to plaster up, try to get our palm facing the sky. Same reason as the first technique, where this is getting the narrow part of my wrist in between this gap between his fingers. Forearm, we're going this way, like that. And now we have that position once again to grab, push, or strike if we wish.
So the next one is another wrist grab escape. My kind of opinion on that is going to be the same. Sure, it can work, but it's probably not the best course of action for the purpose that you're training it for. When you have someone actually trying to cause malicious harm and damage to you, you don't want to be worrying about the wrist grab, you want to be worrying about the person who's grabbing your wrist and attacking them instead.
As soon as I feel that pressure on my wrist, he's grabbing them, clasp together. From here, I'm just going to push my hips in using my body instead of my arm strength. Pull up a little bit, as far as we can, and then curl my wrist over. Curl over and take a step and stomp down as I push down. What this does is it puts his wrists in a bind where he doesn't have much strength. Right here, really grip on him. Right there. And I didn't even have to use very much strength at all. Yep, there you go. Red, he was actually gripping.
So again, I have kind of a similar opinion on this. It can work, but I don't think we are necessarily taking the right course of action here, specifically when we consider the kind of context that this attack would be taking place in, right? The kind of context where someone grabs both of your wrists, that's not really the kind of attack that a man usually finds himself in. It's usually the kind of attack where a bigger, stronger male is doing it to a female in an attempt to restrain, perhaps for some kind of trigger warning in relation to, you know, abuse. For the next 10 seconds, if you want to skip ahead, 30-second mark, you know, you should be good. Usually the kind of thing where a man is holding down a female in an attempt to sexually abuse her or something to that effect. Now, I think here is where we need to start thinking about our soft skills as opposed to our hard skills. Hard skills are the physical techniques. Soft skills are the things that account for like the context of the situation, how we verbalize, how we use deception as well. So if we have a man trying to hold down a woman with both of her wrists, right? Let's think about a couple of things. The first thing is she's not necessarily in direct physical danger at that point in time because both of his hands are taken up. And what he's trying to do is subdue her. So my course of action here that I would actually recommend is for her to use deception to make him think that she has given up or that she's going to allow this to happen. So my recommended course of action here is to use deception in order to make the man feel like he's in control, make the man feel like he's going to get exactly what he wants. So at this point, she can give up, say, look, you know what, let's just do it, let's just get it over with, I'm happy to do whatever you want to do. As he lets go of the wrists and starts taking the clothes off, then you can start explosively resisting when you find the right time to strike. In this moment where he's trying to subdue you with both of your wrists, like that is the moment where he's trying to figure out, is this woman going to really resist, or is this woman just going to shut up and do what I say? And you want him to think that you're going to shut up and do what he says, and then you want to prove him wrong explosively and unexpectedly. So I guess what I'm saying is, this is probably fine, but again, it's the wrong kind of course of action, and I think we need to start accounting more for the context of the situation that this would be happening in, and think about how we can implement those soft skills a little bit more, how we can implement deception and picking our moment to strike. If we are not in a good position to counterattack, we probably shouldn't be doing that. With both of our wrists taken up and pinned against our bodies like this, if we start resisting, sure, we might get out of that grip, right? But now, similar to the wrist escape, he's going to be more angry than he was before. He's going to grab us immediately again with more aggression and more intent to cause damage. So I think in this situation, we need to let him have that. Let him win that battle so we can win the war. So yep, you have my wrist. I'm sorry, I'll do whatever you want. He lets go, starts unbuttoning the pants, anything like that. And then explosively and violently and suddenly resist by attacking the person doing the actions. Forget about the actual wrist grab. Think about how we can take out the person who's doing the grabbing, not how we can take out the grab. Because if we just take out the grab, there's going to be another grab later on down the line.
And she's going to make sure to go in for a real choke here, like that's actually constricting my carotid or my windpipe, either one. And because you always want to train the way it's going to happen. You don't want to like have someone just doing this right here. It's like, why would I escape from this? I'll just hit you.
I think he made a really good point here. You do always want to train as realistically as possible, and that's a great point that he's making. I also want to point out the kind of Frankenstein-like choking method that his partner has, right? If somebody's choking you with both hands, it's usually not going to be like, you're going to die. It's usually going to be bent arms, very aggressive, very emotional, very lean forwards, and pushing them back, right? It's kind of, it's not like, yes, I'm going to end your life now, thank you very much. It's a very...
There's no real danger here. But just like with all the other escapes that we've done so far, as soon as you feel it coming on, you want to immediately try and escape from it. As soon as someone sinks in, they're able to control you more, especially with the choke. They're going to push you off balance. They're going to straight asphyxiate you. As soon as I feel this coming on, what I'm going to do is put my hands together in a prayer formation or a pyramid. I'm going to step. I'm going to try and brace myself so that if he's like trying to choke me, like most people, if they're trying to choke you, they're trying to kill you, they're in the throes of anger, they're trying to throttle you. So I'm going to brace myself as soon as I feel this come on into a pyramid. Step up and forward as far as you can. And then as soon as you're here, you're just going to drop down, sink your knees down, and pull down like that.
Okay, my initial thoughts are that I hate it. I think any kind of tactic that involves smashing the arms away, up, down, to the sides, anything to that effect is generally very ineffective. And I haven't pressure tested this specific one, but I have been choked a lot, and I have tried a lot of different things, and this definitely falls within the category of things that tend to not work very well whatsoever. A couple of reasons as to why I think that specifically is, one, if someone's already having their hands around your throat and choking you, that means they're already pushing you backwards. So if someone's already pushing you backwards, that means it's very difficult to then stop that pressure and start forward momentum and then go into this movement because you're already on the back foot there. So to go from the back foot into the forwards foot and stepping forwards with those arms coming up, when this person's already pushing you back, I'm not too sure about that. What I think we should be trying to do is look for these pre-contact cues, right? Trying to pick up on the fact that they're going to attack us prior to them doing it and getting ready to launch an explosive attack before they actually engage in that choke. So their foot's gonna blade back, their face is gonna start to scrunch up, their arms are gonna come out. When that starts to happen, that's when we just, boom, get in their face, mess them up, get out of there. Attack violently, attack suddenly, attack viciously, and get home, have a nice apple pie.
He grabs right here. What we're going to do is pop down, just so you can see, I'm grabbing my own lapel here, pulling down. And the same as all the other techniques, as soon as you feel someone do this, you want to pop this down, grab your own shirt. Now that you're grabbing your own shirt or sweater, you're not able to defend from that punch anymore. So what you have to do is immediately get out of the line, get out of where he's going to be able to punch you. You want to step to the side.
My first thought here is the principle that the more points of contact somebody has on your body, so if I'm not grabbing somebody whatsoever and I'm just trying to hit them, I have a much less chance of hitting them than if I were to have a hand on them and then try to hit them, because this hand grabbing hold of them is feeding information back to my brain, telling my brain, okay, this is where their head is. I can tell just from feeling, because this is where their chest is, so logically speaking, their head is here, right? So if I have a hand on, the chances of me, when their head is right here, accidentally missing out here, I think is pretty ridiculous and kind of ludicrous. Their chances of hitting you have actually increased as opposed to if they didn't have a hand on you, because their body has more information as to where your head actually is. That's called indexing.
And using this kind of motion with your hand, pop up into the wrist, turn, over here, turn, and push down, the same as before, using that gravity, using your weight against it.
So again, I think this can work. I think the chances of it working really well and really properly while someone's actually trying to punch you in the face are not very high. So I guess the technique itself is like, all right, because it will physically probably make them let go of that grip, but you're gonna be getting punched in the face as they're doing it. And I know we can probably say, but if you do it fast enough, you won't get punched in the face, but I just don't think you can do that fast enough. My alternative suggestion would be, as soon as you see this person go to grab you by your shirt, you viciously, aggressively, and suddenly attack them, right? So up until they grab you, up until they actually give any kind of contact on your body, we should be being quite recessive. We should be being like, hey, I don't want to fight. Please don't hurt me. I'm just a little weak person. I can't fight. You're the big man. And then they grab you. So you've convinced them you're not going to fight back. Now they think they're in charge. As soon as their hand, before it even touches you, before it even gets here, their hand's reaching out, you bop, and you just... Prevention is much better than a cure. Although if I did actually get stuck in that position where someone grabbed me, again, my solution is pretty simple. I would just hit them in the face really hard. It's usually a pretty good solution to a lot of problems. Hit people in the face as hard as you can. Alternatively, you can of course cover when they come in for that hand and then try to wrap that up, and now you've got control of their punching arm and you can sit in that clinch pretty safely. They're gonna have to let go of that arm that they grabbed you with. You can then wrap that up. That's why grappling is pretty important, and then, you know, you're good to go from there. But I really like the just punch them in the face tactic.
My left hand in this position, otherwise it'd be reversed in the other. Left hand, I'm going to reach as high as I can and put the blade of my hand up against his chin or his upper lip and his nose area, and I'm going to push and pull down this way. You can go ahead and use two hands if you need, or pull with this out.
So yeah, this can absolutely work. Just when that headlock first comes on, stand up, frame on their head, push off. A lot of the time that just makes them let go or get annoyed, reposition, and try to find a different kind of technique to use on you. So this is completely fine. I give it a 10 out of 10. Good work. Another alternative we can do in this high position is get our hips as close to the other person's hips as we can, get a body lock around them, and try to straighten out our spine. Muay Thai fighters are really good at standing really close to you with a straight spine and just like being immovable. And again, from there you can usually work sweeps or even just stand up until the person decides to move to something else.
Right here, I'm going to try and, if I can, reach, try and strike whatever I can, try and create so that he has a weaker base than me.
I'm not a real big fan of trying to throw any strikes from this position, especially not into the leg. I wouldn't punch anyone in the leg ever. I would never punch anyone in the leg. Except if I were in high school and I was trying to like give my friend a dead leg. But other self-defense, you don't punch people in the leg. I guess is what I'm saying. Don't do it.
I want to be nice and strong here. If I strike the legs, push away hips, all these things, it'll weaken him and it'll make it easier to do whatever I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do, strike, strike, push, grab the flat of his wrist right here. I'm going to dig, over here. I'm going to dig my fingers into his belt. Most people just wear jeans now. Don't be afraid. You're in a headlock. There's no rules or courtesy right here. Just dig it in. Grab, dig your knuckles in, push those hips forward, and twist. Over here again. And you're twisting this as you pull out and pushing up. Now, what this does is while you're twisting and pushing up, if you try to move your arm, try to pull into me, it's very hard for me to do so. He's in a very weakened position because of where his wrist is. I'm going to pull out, push in, pull my head out, and you see a hammerlock.
So I'm kind of skeptical of that hand in the back of the belt actually being able to push their hips forward enough for you to be able to make that effective. I don't think that would have an overly large effect. Let's actually take a look at something that I would recommend instead. So if we just go headlock, escape. Let's go Stephen Kesting. As much as BJJ guys hate me, I think this guy's stuff will probably be pretty acceptable.
Once I've got that hand controlled here or here, I'm going to step a little bit further so that my left foot comes close to his right leg, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit my butt down onto my left heel. I'm going to go here. Control him over so that I'm on top and he's on the bottom.
Boom, so that's another kind of alternative we could do, right? And if you look at my bag versus knife self-defense testing video, you'll see that I did that over and over and over and over again, right? I was basically in that headlock position, and I purposely put myself in the headlock position so that I could perform this takedown while trapping that knife hand to the body, right? So I think this is a great alternative. I think this is something that would work. Would yours work that you showed me? Maybe, but definitely a much lower chance of success than this one. It's kind of like really relied on that hand to push that hip forward and allow you to just pull that grip up, which I'm not a fan of. I've done this a million times. I know this works. So I'd recommend something a bit more like this.
What we're going to do first is push right here onto the top of the knee. We're not trying to injure anything right now. What we're mostly trying to do is buckle that a little bit. Make sure his base isn't very strong.
I'm striking with a variation of shuto, aiming for the side of the leg just above the kneecap and dropping my weight with it to gain more power and buckle the knee inward as I push down.
As we do that, we're gonna step in as hard as we can. Right here, he has a lot of strength and leverage over us, so we need to make sure we use all of our power that we can. There. From here, I'm now just going to boom, 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 boom. I'm going to strike in to the groin with this part of my hand, chopping in between the legs.
A point to keep in mind is that despite what popular media will say, groin strikes do not end a fight instantly. They can be unpleasant, but during a fight with adrenaline running, that pain is often shrugged off. As such, this part is optional, but can be used as a distraction that may make an opponent let go. If they don't let go, then that's what this next part is for.
Yeah, I think he kind of said what I was going to say already, that groin strikes really don't always end the fight, but they can absolutely make someone let go. However, I do find groin strikes kind of hard to pull off in this position when someone's actually throwing you around, and I find it just a much better option to get that body lock on them, trap up that other arm, and then use that just to gain control of the situation. Trying to flail around with both hands and hit that groin, I don't think you're going to be able to hit it hard enough to achieve anything. You're just going to make them more angry and just throw you more viciously. But hey, if you doubt that, just give it a go. Send me a video of it working against someone who's actually trying to mess you up, and yeah, I'll eat my words.
Right here, he's grabbing onto me. I've come in, done what I can here. Now what I'm going to do is try to reach up as far as I can onto his shirt, his collar, anything like that. I'm going to try and avoid his hair right here, his magnificent ponytail right there. And I'm going to pop my left leg out in this position. Otherwise, reverse, it will be my right leg. Pop out.
The position I'm referring to looks like this. It's similar to what we call our side fall position.
And pull him down. Now, in this position, you can grab his wrist, same as the second technique, flatter the wrist if you can, and I'm going to curl it, pull up and push him with my arm that should be underneath him already from him falling, and then keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Keep close. If you have space here, you can roll back into me.
So I actually think that was a great takedown, and you can definitely pull that takedown off over and over and over again against someone who's actually trying to hurt you, especially if they have you in the headlock and you walk them forwards, right? So if they have you in a headlock, you walk them forwards. When you walk someone forwards, they always want to go backwards, so you walk them forwards, and then you suddenly shift backwards, stick that leg out, go for the takedown. The only difference I would make is instead of trying to hold onto that wrist and go for the lock, I would just immediately try to switch my hips and go into side control from there. From side control, you can switch to knee ride and pop up if you have to, or you can control them on the ground if you want to do that instead as well, if the situation is appropriate for that to happen. meaning they don't have like other people or friends around, or you're not in an overly public place. Alright, so that was pretty much it for the day. Hope you guys like this kind of content. Let me know if you do. Let me know if you hate it. If you want me to never make any kind of content like this again, tuck down in the comments saying, hey Matt, never make any content like this again. I hate it when you do it. Only do the usual stuff that you do. Never try to do anything different. Never follow your dreams. Never try to do what you want. Let me know, I'm open to suggestions. Again, if you like this video and you haven't yet actually subscribed to me, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you think any of the stuff that I said wouldn't work, will work, send me a video showing it working against a resisting attacker, and I'll eat my words, as usual. Until next time, have a good day.